Hey, what's up, minds? Are you guys ready? This is Satori D, and I'm about to bring you a whole lot of crazy. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, because tonight, the Minds Panel Show proudly presents 24-hour Imaginarium. What is the Imaginarium, you may be asking yourself? Well, that's what we're going to find out tonight. We have a packed panel today. We got my co-host and technical support, Corey. What's up, Corey? How's it going, Sofego?
Hey, what's up?
Good to have you here. I always like to have you as my co-host because he's my technical support. Because I always forget to press record. And then we have Cartman One here. I'm so glad you're here. Took you a
Haha,
while, but we
hi,
got you. Hey, good to
I'm
have you.
here.
And
How's it
then
going?
going really good. And then we got Lee Travis. Hey, what's up, Lee Travis?
Hey, Story D, how's it going? How's everybody here at the panel tonight? It's great to see you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun tonight. And then we got two people from Australia in the house today. First, we got Miguel. Hey, what's up, Miguel? First panel
Hey
show.
guys, how's it
Good to
going?
have you.
Yeah, that's right. First
Yeah,
time on the show,
cool.
so excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to have you participate more in our development of shows. You had some good questions and input on group.
Sure. Sure. I'm real happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
Oh no.
How?
Oh no.
We're losing you. Yeah, Satori.
The dog.
Oh,
The host is gone. So
Oh,
take it away.
okay. So, 24-hour Imaginarium. If we get a wild card back, she'll come in and correct me if I get this wrong. So, from what I understand, the 24 Imaginarium is on June 6th, 24 hours, the whole day. We're going to devote, for everybody that participates, it's devoting on basically consciousness. And everything that entails about being creative, art, meditation, uh, being out in nature, and really getting in tune to what's going around us. And we are going to do this in a collaborative effort. So we have the 24 Imaginarium page, and there's a groups where you can put up music. So we have music. I know there's a breathing room hosted, and I think what we're going to do as the Minds Panel Show is that we're going to set up video chat rooms. I think we might do it in Imperial Inn. We're going to test out Jitsi. So what it's going to be is that we're going to have everybody from around the world. You start participating. Go onto the site. I think right now you guys are up to like 125. Do you know, Cartman? One for sure.
I'm not entirely sure actually, if I'm completely
Yeah,
honest, but
but I believe it's over 100 people already that are subscribed to the page. But we're gonna keep on reminding and posting to get you guys aware of what's going on. And basically, it's whatever your passion is as far as expressing yourself. We want you to do that, and we're gonna help facilitate that, help encourage it, and really you're only limited by your own imagination. So really quick, I looked up the word Imaginarium, and simply it means devoted to imagination. And what I wrote in this recent blog that I did is called Manifesting Dreams. And I kind of stated the Imaginarium is where thoughts, ideas, dreams get processed into reality. And what we've been doing in this new phase of Minds is we're working together to kind of not only express our art, but express it in a collaborative way and get things done. And this is part of what the Minds Panel Show is all about. And what I've been recently thinking about is that I remember when I read Blackout Speak, and he was a Native American medicine man, and he would have these great visions in his dreams. And one of the practices that they had is when he had a really nice vivid dream that he kind of wanted to bring to the tribe and bring it out, say in reality, that the whole tribe will get together and play out his dream in their village, and that would help it to like solidify, and then that dream would be manifested in reality. And this is kind of what we're troubleshooting and doing as a global village of minds, is that we post up our ideas and we get people that are interested in it, and we help each other to manifest that in reality. And I think this is the core belief, the core thing about the Minds panel show and what's going on with the 24 Imaginarium. Yeah, that's I think this is what we're all doing right now. And
Harmonic convergence.
yes.
And I also want to add to that is there's so many scripts that we keep referring to, like 1984 and dare I say, books, the Bible that's been translated and argued over. We're living from a text that somebody else has written, and that's totally, in today's world, that's totally ridiculous. We've got ways to connect, like we're doing now, we're doing continents together. We can write our own script that is pertinent to our circumstances, to what we need now. It's time that we do it ourselves. We're learning from scripture to what really appears to me is that we are our own sovereign entities, and we have our own wishes, thoughts, desires, in our own circumstances, that we can start to create. And this create a really strong network based on what we need.
Yeah.
Corporations now that put contracts in our faces and ask us to spend at this time. They have to decide if we want to use their services. So what if we were to start negotiating and making our own contracts in our own jurisdiction based on our words? It's good time now. We have the technology and time to do it.
Yes. And I think that's something that we kind of touched on our last show, and it was we're more focusing on, say, the economic side of blockchain.
Yeah. Auditory of lost.
Yeah.
Um,
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the blockchain could help facilitate so much more. And what it basically is that we bypass the regular centralized system, and we don't need what we were talking about before the show, these middlemen that we kind of say, oh, we don't want to deal with the headache of having our own responsibilities, say for our password or for our key to our wallet, right? And so we kind of like give it up, and we're like, oh, whatever, we'll trust the establishment to take care of it. But no, it's kind of taking back our own responsibility, but also to working together and saying, you know what, we don't need a centralized system to help facilitate things. We have our responsibility for ourselves as individuals. We could work together. We could just get up and say, hey, our like-minded people, like this is kind of what's been happening recently, very recently, with the Minds panel show, and I see it evolving even more. In the beginning, I had to do a lot of the legwork, and I had to help facilitate things. But just right now, I mean, we have an organic show popping up about the Thailand and Facebook issue, and how Minds is the safe haven for them. And this is developing as we speak right now. And it was, I guess I had a little bit of attention of doing it, but also too, I was like, so we have contact with one of the main people that help move people over from Facebook to Minds with the issue about their security. And basically, too, what Facebook is doing is they're the middleman of our data, and we kind of put a blind eye and think that they're gonna take care of our data, but they don't. They sell off our data. And with Minds is that our data is within our control, and they even engineer that out of their equation, so they don't want any responsibility for our own personal information. It's all ours. we keep it, and we do what we see fit with it. And it's amazing how much progress we have got with minds, with the little bit of good people that we have here, and having this environment where we feel free to express ourselves, to communicate with each other, and how it's been blossoming. I remember when Wildcard, you first brought up the idea of the global consciousness on June 6th. I was in that group that I started, the Set Consciousness Free, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I like the idea, but I don't see it happening. And then now I can't help but see all the possibilities, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, thank you. I want to address a couple of things in what you said, because you've said quite a lot. I just want to interrupt, and I promise I won't speak any more about the blockchain after this. But
yeah, go ahead.
I contacted Roger Nelson 13 years ago for the Global Consciousness Project. I just have this vision, if we get our heads together, we can resolve anything, absolutely anything. And timing is what counts. There's a lot in our consciousness that we need to pull together, and timing is one of the most important things. And it seems like now, when we're surrounded by a lot of chaos, that's when people really start to look for, well, what can I do? What tools have I got? And we can see now they're there. We've got everything. It's just a matter of really connecting our heads together. Now, with blockchain, one of the pushes has been, like, why I've come back to it is that we have this totally new blank canvas that enables us to create. It's like this blank canvas. We've got all the inks and tools, and what's happening is the same paradigm has crept in. There's a dominant culture within the crypto community of venture capitalists, guys that want to drive fast cars and pay hookers. It's like, why bring that same mentality in? It drives me crazy. That is what's dominating, that banks are now trying to manipulate it into their mentality to access data. It's such a waste if this is how cryptocurrency ends up. And speaking to people around the scene, just like, what else can we create? Create network for our benefit. And I've been really stuck. So it's kind of that thing. Sometimes if you stay involved with the same people, the problems become so complex, and they're really very simple. But being involved in that scene, it kind of stagnates the imagination. So in being on Minds, it's just been a total, so refreshing in that there's people that don't know much about cryptocurrency, and I can speak from more a societal impact, which is what I'm really interested in. So having the Imaginarium there, for me, I want to start thinking of systems for myself. What is going to make my world more enjoyable? How can I move with velocity? How can I pick up the slack and the lags? Who do I need to...
That's exactly what I figured out for Wicked Being, Dale. It was just about what I wanted out of life and what I wanted to make my life easier.
Yes, start there. People are trying to put all these more blankets on people, more systems. Stop it. Get out of my life. I know what I want. Let me design it. And then give the tools that I need. Imagine if we all do that, and we just need a really basic tool. No added extras. No more bloatware. Stop it.
Right.
And, vibrationally, people connect on a cellular level as well. So, all our thoughts and emotions, they are a vibration in themselves that, connect with other people that match the same vibration. So that's how it kind of creates. But we're sort of taught, in society that we shouldn't be selfish and we shouldn't think about ourselves. But actually, it does start with the self, not in a selfish, I'm going to benefit myself and nobody else way, but in the sense that your thought processes and your feelings and emotions that you project are what connect with other things on a cellular level, and then you can create, you know, that's the great thing about your 24 Imaginarium, is that you can all create together in a sort of a group format, yet it's a singular thing in the sense that you think it's your thought processes and your emotions that you're projecting that create.
Yeah, I'm so glad you guys were bringing this up, because this is what the idea behind this phrase or tagline that I like to use with the Minds Panel show. I don't want a hive mind, I want a mosaic of minds. And so each individual bringing their own creativity, their own uniqueness, and it creates this picture that is greater than the sum total of its parts. And also, to going back to what you were saying about how what's happening at this battle with blockchain, or with everything in the new paradigm, and this is why it's kind of like important that we pay attention, not what's going on the digital landscape, but also to ourselves and to our own creativity, because you cannot solve the problems, that what Einstein kind of said. I'm not going to quote him directly, but basically what he said is that you can't solve the old problems with the old way of thinking. You need a new way of thinking to solve the problem. That you get stuck in that thought process. But I do like what you said about that somehow I always have these weird experiences on minds, and it's like I phrase it as because I was playing off of this idea, ideas are networks, and so if ideas are networks, then the myths and the stories are the structures and functions, and vision is the design. And I phrase it as deep network connections, because we have these synchronicities that happen on minds all the time. Recently, me and Cartman one had that where I so happened to check, because you have to check your messages because I don't get a notification.
Oh, the synchronicity.
Yeah, and then you were like,
because the vibrations are matching, so that's when synchronicity occurs. It's not, coincidence is a term. Oh, it's just, isn't that weird that this happened? No, it's not. It's synchronicity. It's quantum physics. It's a vibrational matches. That, vibrational matches by definition are, that's what the synchronicity is that's occurring, that you're decoding is this connection with people, or these things that are happening, and you're thinking, God, I was just having that thought and I was speaking this thing, and then I spoke to this person and then they came through the message or whatever it is, and you're thinking, oh my God, that's really, wow, I can't believe that's happened. But that is evidence of, vibrational matches.
yes.
What I'm finding is the more I'm in tune with who I am, what I need, and my intention is to empower other people. I'm just feeling like I want that for myself so that I can share it forward like a ripple effect. And as I become more in tune with what it is that I want and I need, and it's really basic, it is just food and a safe environment. It's really, really basic. Then I'm in tune with more of the vibration, and incredible synchronicity is happening. It's unbelievable. It's kind of like I look around sometimes looking for cameras. Is this a setup?
Yeah. That's evidence of expanded awareness, is that the synchronicities appear to be speeding up in your own personal life. It seems as though these synchronicities just are getting faster and faster and faster as you expand your consciousness and your level of awareness.
Absolutely. So then imagining getting people around the world on with a similar intention. And some people are saying they're never going to get enough people. I know it's not about enough. Not even the right people, but people that are really intentional with it. That's all that matters. It's not numbers, it's definitely the quality.
Yes.
Definitely. And I think also as well with intention, when you have a clear intention, your action, and this is the other thing as well with action, people always think it's certain things specific to being an action, but an action can be you know, writing something. It can be, you could, you know, we think of action as in moving about, but we're not. You could be sat still and be having a very clear thought that is congruent to your intention, and that is an action in itself. You know,
Yes.
that is an action. It doesn't necessarily mean going out on a protest. Isn't this? You know, that doesn't have to be an action. It could, like I say, you could just be sat there doing nothing. You could be alone and having a clear thought process that has followed your clear intention. So it matches your intention, is what I'm trying to say. It's congruent to your intention, and then that's kind of how manifestation occurs. You know, that's what manifestation is that you know, you have a clear intention, and then your actions are harmonious to your intention. And that's to say that any manifestation can occur that we would decode as reality.
Oh, subject of reality. Seems, I don't know about anybody else here, but my reality is totally shifting. The man-made structure is becoming so blatantly an illusion. It's totally, like, I'm really getting, we made this up. Our ancestors, we created this system. We started giving other people our authority. We started, yes, this era of being selfish. My mother seemed to be talking about oneself. So everything was weird. And then, like, in communicating with my mother, there was no self because she wasn't allowed to talk about it. So I'm like, who am I talking to? I don't know. There was no.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it seems there's a very strong question of, well, who are we? Who has the authority? If it's not ourselves and we can't even see it, why are we giving it away? It's time to shift that. Absolutely.
I want to touch on that a little bit more. So what you're saying too is about the attention, and I think too how we have given up like the story or this power of ourselves, and we look to other places. And this is kind of what the whole like battle between centralization and decentralization. And this is a little mini battle that I have with my panel show. Is like I'm like they always look to me to like start a show, and I'm like, it's decentralized. That means you could start it if you want to. Like we still look for authority. We still look for approval to do something. And I'm like, no, you could just do it. I like this old saying, the Zen saying, that you're the one that who makes the grass green? And then so you come to this realization that you're the one who makes the grass green. That you and it goes back to what you guys were saying about the individual kind of coming into your own. And there's a difference between what's been implanted to you, where you think it's an intention, but a true intention. That's where you have to dig deep inside you.
You have to really clarify the intention.
Yeah.
That's the key. The intention has to be very clear, and then what you do from having that clear intention is, what will culminate in a manifestation of what we would, decode as a reality, what we would view as a reality, and what we see externally, which in a sense is an illusion. We see things externally in the third dimension, which is the dimension we exist in. We see everything as external, when in actual fact we're all connected. But everything is a mirror, is a reflection of our thought processes, and our thoughts become things, basically. So everything we see is a reflection of our thought processes, our belief systems, our programs that we can rerun over and over again. The programming within human beings, which is actually stored within the DNA, can be changed. You don't have to keep rerunning a program. A lot of people keep saying, "Oh, I didn't like this job, and so I left, and I found another job, and I ended up you know, having the same type of person that was my boss that was a nightmare, and, you know, why does this happen to me? Or I left this relationship, it was really bad, and then I met this other person, it all seemed great, and then it turned out that I had a whole new set of problems. So what that is that they keep rerunning a program. But that's because, you know, a lot of people aren't consciously aware of their day-to-day lives and their living. They're not consciously aware of what's going on. They're just kind of going along in an unconscious way, so they don't really know what's happening. But once you become conscious, you can actually decide to, you know, think, well, I don't want to go into my DNA and rerun that particular program. I'm going to do something else. I'm not going to access that information. I'm going to access this information instead. So they can...
things to do for people to, like, I know for myself, what I got was that I am creating everything. And if I look around at the circumstances around me, relationships that are off-center, I know I'm creating that. So that's the confront. If we are, and we have the ability to create everything, then look around us, because we're creating this. And I got that.
And why are we picking like the worst and lowest form of the story of our reality? Why don't we create a better one? But I like what you were saying about the DNA, because I also too come to like that realization, or intuitively understood that DNA is not only just a read system; it's a read-write system. That the story of what mainstream science kind of tells us is that all the DNA just plays out the information, and that you kind of like are slave to whatever that's written in there. But it's a for me, I came to that realization or this understanding that it's a rewrite situation as well, that you with your intentions, and this goes into like your pure intentions, get rewritten into that program. And yes, Travis, you want to step in here?
Oh, I was just going to say that I call it like a system reboot, or not reboot, but system reset, like factory reset, you know.
Yeah.
And you reset it back to the factory settings, how we were meant to be, rather than what we were taught to be.
Yeah. It's really interesting you say that, Lee, because I think that everything, you know, in technology, you know, with the internet, everything is reflective of the human being. You know, in a sense, the way the human being is wired is, you know, the internet reflects the entirety of the human being, or the entirety of the human wiring, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go on, Lee.
I was going to say the blockchain also sort of reflects the DNA, like you were speaking. The blockchain technology being the internet, where I suppose the 3.0 internet that I envision, or a lot of other people might envision as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree, Lee. Definitely.
Into this sphere after 5 years, we've now got banks on our tails. That's it. Like, the thing that most drew me into the technology was the thought of kind of like Ubering everything. And Uber has been fantastic, even though it's centralized. It's still challenged a mafia industry, being the taxi industry, and it's giving people a sense of how we can live our lives. We talk about collaborative living and sharing. We've got all these cars on the road with one person in them, and the traffic, and there's congestion. So the logic step is to rent each other's cars out. The logic step also with computing is to bypass servers and utilize each other's space. It's a natural progression. So we're really on the cusp of a transformation, because I think there are a lot more people becoming aware that we are writing this. There are a lot of correlations between humanity and computers. Have a look at artificial intelligence. It disgusts me that of artificial intelligence, sex robots are one of the biggest things to come out of here. I mean, this is totally indicative of the type of society we live in. like there's so much more that we could do, but if we rely on the people that are designing technology, we're going to get more of the same. We have to, as a user, we're the end user of these lives. We have to have a say in it, and bringing computational power, that conversation into the program. That we are, Bruce Lipton discovered that the nucleus is not the brain of the cell. Cells live for 2 to 3 months without the nucleus. That's all been incorrect information. We're living on a foundation of lies and inconsistencies and not untruths. We're the scientists.
So right. So right.
And I think Holly's trying to get in. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to try this again and see if there's any feedback. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you better.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So, I really like to hear from you, because just seeing you popping into the Imaginarium and sharing all the information, what attracts you? What do you hear is possible from this?
Yeah, just listening to all these guys talk as well. I mean, with synchronicity, with myself, I have been experiencing it just lately. I mean, I think it was just only yesterday that I did come up to Satori and I did ask him about the panel. And before I even knew about it, he was the one asking me if I wanted to be on the panel, even though that's what I wanted to do anyway. So,
yeah.
And from then it's just been moving on. I've only joined Minds as well. I mean, probably 2-3 months ago, and to be part of something like this, it's quite amazing what's going on. And then I think as well, I mean, if we are truly being ourselves, I think we can somehow synchronize to a bigger consciousness. This is where I'm not too sure if we are some sort of like global consciousness, or I don't know. I was probably going to ask about your guys' input on this as well. What you guys think about global consciousness, and are we some sort of part of it? And I guess we are all connected in some way as well.
Yeah, I'll touch on that a little bit, and then we'll see what everybody else says. So what I view it as, or how I frame it in my own mind to make sense, is that there's a difference between being conscious and then consciousness. And I view consciousness because I read the Tao of Physics one time, and I got into Eastern philosophy. And basically what Eastern philosophy kind of says is that everything is consciousness, and that we are like a drop in this ocean of consciousness. So consciousness creates matter, and they had this great story of the Hindu cosmology, and where they said that there was, in the beginning of time, and it's very similar to the Big Bang, like there was the void, there was nothing, and then they became everything consciousness, and consciousness, or God, because they use it in Western terms, got tired of just basically kind of like with just himself. So he broke himself up into two, and then he started playing that he was a different person, and that got kind of tired. So he broke himself into fours, and he kept on going off and breaking himself until he got to everything, and he got tired. So he forgot that he was part of everything, so he could play out this play that's happening right now. And so and so this just kind of goes back to, I think we're kind of going back to that realization, which has happened within the, we went so far deep into the atom, and then we found out the quantum world, and where we are learning those ancient intuitions that everything is connected, that the observer, your intents affect the basic unit of what matter is. And that's what the double blind kind of tells us about. And so in that sense, I view things as, and it goes in, it's kind of like an onion. It has these layers, and I like what Rupert Sheldrake has in his theory of morphic genetic resonance. And so basically, we have these layers of pockets of, and I guess a term that I could use that I think everybody else could say is that that have this cloud of knowledge. So like us human beings have this collective unconscious of a cloud of information that gets stored there, and this is where the Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell archetypes come from. And if you ever read The Hero with a Thousand Faces or The Power of Myth, if you haven't, I say you guys should look into that for the viewers or Miguel as well. And what you find out through all these stories, and these stories, The Power of Myth says that these stories help for us to navigate in the world, and what they were saying, and now our new story is about technology, and this is why we use these words like programming and rewriting and decoding and vibrations or resonance, and we use all these technical language because this is something that we're making like a mirror image, because we're creating technology and we're kind of creating it in our image, knowingly or unknowingly. And I think it's about time we come to the point to we start doing it knowingly. And we see a lot of fractal mirror images coming back to us, as far as, especially now with the blockchain, especially now how everything is moving to that. And I love these little videos and these clips, and I try to use them in my mix-ups or in the visuals in the background, where the structure of like the galaxies mirror image. You ever seen that photo where the eye, you look in the middle of the iris and it looks like a galaxy? The firing of neurons, they mirror image the firing out in the galaxy, and there's all these
There's
fractal.
so much evidence to show that we're all connected, that we're all aspects of the one infinite consciousness, or the one infinite awareness or vibration. There's so much evidence around us reflecting back at us to show us that we're all connected.
And fractals is what comes to mind. It gets me that fractals haven't really been explored on a scientific level because they're so out of the ordinary. Thinking in fractals, I've heard somebody say that we are part of the 55 trillion cells of an entity. So until we can collaborate, exist together in a harmonious form, then this entity can't live. So that's an interesting thought. Miguel, I like the questions that you're asking, and I don't know, I haven't been satisfied with any answers.
It's been good.
Exploring myself. I love being on the end of this synchronicity. It's beautiful. It's like it wakes me up. I feel like I'm coming out of a coma. So I just don't know, and I think there hasn't been enough energy put into this conversation and taking it seriously. That we are vibration, how vibrations work. We've had the quantum called quantum physics theory of vibration.
Yeah. Okay. But I think too, it's this thing that, and I've been saying this recently. There's one thing to understand, and I don't even think we necessarily, like, on the society level, understand it completely intellectually, but even for personally, there's one thing for me to understand something intellectually, and there's another thing to integrate it into my being. And this is like where the real work happens, of integrating and being like that intuition and making it part of you, like harmonizing with you. I think that's what we're trying to get to, is that, and this is where the magic happens. This is what meditation is leading us to. This is where the creative juices flow. When you get into really good, whatever you're, and I think everybody is an artist, and either knowingly or unknowingly, we all have these certain passions, or these certain gifts, or these certain inklings. And basically, if you focus in on it and you allow yourself, you let go of all that old programming, and you kind of get in tune, in harmony with yourself, you produce this stuff that comes out. And I shared this story with Corey, and I originally, when I did the little intro or promo for this show, I was a little bit tired, and I was just gonna put music and images and maybe a couple of like words. But then I was like, no, I want to do like a little like mini intro. So I go and I start like the music, and I just had this feeling. I'm like, okay, let me just let go. And literally what I said there was not written down. It was not practiced. It was one take. And I was like, whoa. Like, even I viewed it like in third person, like, did that just happen right now? Did I just say all that stuff? Like, I was
You
like,
it sounds like you let your authentic self, as I say, rather than the ego self, which is the logical part of the human that's sort of saying, oh, should I do it like this? Or you know, like, being quite harsh on yourself and deciding whether it's right or wrong. You just let yourself go with the flow. You let your authentic self be the captain, you know, and steer you in that sense. So you didn't think about it too much. You just went with the flow. And I think that's the key. Is just allowing the authentic self is the spiritual self, if you like, the true self, if there's such a thing, allowing that to, take the helm and control everything in a sense. Well, controlling sounds negative in a way, but if you allow yourself to go with the flow, it's basically without fear. If you eliminate all the fear of like, oh, if I say this or if I do this, then this might happen. If you can let all of that go, that's when you can really rewrite the program or create a new program, because you're not tapping into the old program and then repeating something that you might not necessarily want to repeat. If you consciously go into a program and think, well, I want to take that program out, I want to use that, that's fine, that's a good thing. But it's like when you let the programs control you and create the neural pathways of repeated programs, so you keep repeating the same thing over and over again that you perhaps don't want to repeat over and over again. If you want to repeat something, once you become an expansion of consciousness, you can go into the DNA, if you like. You can go into the program and say, I think I'll take this part of this out of my library, and I'm going to use this to my advantage. If you do it consciously, that's fine, but it's when you are doing it unconsciously, or you're letting fear get the better of you, which is basically the ego. Fear is the ego that is controlling you. And you're not going with the flow of the energy. You're going against the flow of the energy, so you're not allowing the right things to come in to create or manifest the reality that you want.
I just want to add something in here that may seem irrelevant, but I think it is relevant. There's a movie called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, which is based on a true story, Jean-Dominique Bauby. He suffered a stroke, and the movie is about his world waking up and not being able to speak, so having people around him make decisions on his behalf until they worked out a way for him to communicate. And what I heard recently is that the design of human beings is like that. As toddlers, we can't communicate, where information is forced upon us and there's nothing we can do. Is that by design or not? I don't know. But imagine if toddlers could ask why. They'd just be asking why do this, why. There's no chance to ask it, therefore we just get we walk into a system that's designed from inherited conversations. When we wake up to do something that we've never done before, that's possibly the pathway. It's like in the Matrix, it hasn't been done before, therefore it will work. So when communications or conversations are coming through our minds and we've heard them before, it's just like we're playing out a system. Whereas, Victoria, when you're creating something and tapping into what is this, there's a natural inquiry, there's a natural progression from thought that when they're spoken, it's like, oh, that's cool. It's kind of an energy that comes with it as well. So here's to everything that hasn't been done before. Let's lay a new pathway.
Yes. I want to kind of touch on too that when Carmen one was talking about all of that, and what Lee was saying about going back to your factory reset, that we have all these bad programmings that have been set in by society, and they have all these it's very bad programming as far as we get all this. And but when you get back to the factory reset, then you're able to tap into that authentic self or pure consciousness that is not distorted in a sense. You want to?
Yeah, exactly. I think the point is though it's like we're born in an insane asylum. A world where every machine and everything isn't meant for our behalf, but meant to extract our value. And it's like you wake up one day, like, I don't know, for me it was probably around 16 or 17. I'm like, wow, the world isn't what I thought it was, and all the adults are lying to me. And it was really a eye-opening moment, because I was really, I believed that the world already had things going on, had it figured out. And when I became an adult, being an adult really, all it meant was is nobody, realizing nobody has anything figured out. Wow, how do we are?
And we're not meant to have it figured out, because we create as we go along. There's not, in terms of we think of, in terms of things as a linear, time frame or a time construct, which is an illusion really, because there is no past. There's only actually the now moment or the present moment, and the future, as we term it, which obviously we think in terms of past, present, and future in terms of the linear time construct. In actual fact, it's just that we can create. We can, like you said, Lee, the reset. We can create the future, as we term it, by pressing the reset button.
So anyway, I came to this conclusion that so if we have this world that, like, you can change it, and you can make it whatever you want by thinking and using your imagination and so on and so forth, but it's quite difficult and still maintaining a regular life. Like, as an artist or as a person that doesn't really intermingle with the normal lifestyle of going to a job every day and paying all the bills, and I don't really even know what people do, but they've got credit cards and they've got all these things that I don't have, and they've created a whole entire reality around them, and it's extracting their value and their wealth through their whole lives until they're dead, and it's happening to everyone that I know. And it's, yeah, we can change it, and we can, and this is the only moment. But how do we get to the point where our entire society, where our children are born up, and they don't have to worry about computers stealing all their information, or systems extracting all their value throughout their entire lifetime? And the idea of credit, like a bank says that you have credit with them, but you have to pay them back, and you have to pay them a lot more than you even borrowed. And my idea of credit when I was a little kid was that if you got a gold star, you got extra privileges, and it didn't mean you had to pay extra interest. It just meant you were a really good kid, and you got to you got to do extra cool things. And it didn't mean that you had to go into debt for it either. And so that's sort of the society that we were taught as kids. This is how society is, and we were really just kind of hoodwinked because we were very innocent. And we went along with this, and we believed in it. And then when we got up to society, we started signing our life away in all these contracts because we believed in society that we're telling us the truth. This is the point. Yeah, when we get to adults, yeah, we can change it, but we've wasted 40 years of our lives. And I don't want our children to have to waste that kind of time. And that's my point. Right now, if we can change it, well, how do we change it? We've got this gigantic system that is put into place to extract everyone's value. I mean, they've got TV shows. If you look at Netflix, everybody's sucked into, like, I don't know, the latest TV show. What is it? Walking Dead or something?
Yeah, Walking Dead.
I mean, I don't have TV or Netflix. I don't have time to watch Netflix. I've got so many other things going on. But this is what our society is all about, and it's not asleep. They're just being extracted.
Programming, isn't it? Yeah.
And we've been being extracted for 5,000 years. On this planet, like, we literally were born in a slave colony, the entire planet, or at least the entire planet that we know of. I mean, there's the flat earthers that have a whole different story. But as far as the world that's going on, we have psyops and we have false flags and war, and we don't even know why the war's happening. I mean, even if you read history books on the Lexington well, Holly knows really good about history. She can probably help me out if she's listening.
I am.
Tell us about the hoodwink of the Lexington massacre.
Okay. From what I understand, from what I've read, and I took this from some studying I did of a man. Can you guys hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good deal. Work those sound issues out. There's a man who grew up in Lexington, and I believe his name is Perloff, Perloff is his last name, and that's really what I remember. But there was an interview that James Corbett did with him, and this got me interested, and I kind of shared some things back and forth with Lee about it because we were both pretty interested in it. But basically the angle he was coming from was that the entire Revolutionary War was filled with all kinds of holes, and what Lee started to talk about was the Lexington Massacre. And he addressed that. He also addressed the Boston Massacre. These were two events that took place 5 years apart in totally different parts of the colonies. And there were to sum it up, I'm not going to dwell on him, but he shot it full of holes, and really they were some of the earlier false flags that, that term is funny to me. Because it can be applied to just about everything that comes from any sort of governmental entity these days, but it stretches backward as well. But I guess to say just a bit about what I agree with Lee's comments on is that our reality, and I know we're all here, and I think we all get this, and I'm not trying to school anyone on this, but we all get that our realities have been completely shaken, but it's sort of like we've been shaken awake to a certain degree, and all of us at different periods in our lives or whatever, but we're all here for a reason. And I just wanted to say one more thing, and that was that, Nikki, way back, you had some commentary about what you were talking about earlier, the programming, the triggers. And I just wanted you to know that that was sort of a trigger for me. It got me thinking about just how little we all, from on a daily basis, from movement to movement, just sort of go through it like we're on autopilot. And the only thing I wanted to add to that was that I wanted to say that the triggers are something that I started really paying attention to. It sort of evolved different thoughts for me, and the main one was that if we decide that we're going to start paying attention to those triggers, and I'm so guilty of this, but I didn't realize it until I just sort of fumbled through a few things here and there and realized when we're reprogramming ourselves, it takes time and it can be painful, and we have to take the time. Like, you can't just tell yourself, and I'm not speaking for any of you guys, but this is what I had to do with myself. You can't just decide you're just going to go through some situation, but go through it at your normal speed. You sort of have to slow down and retrain through a little bit of a regressed process, and then you can kind of get yourself back up to speed. I don't know if that makes sense, but I wanted to acknowledge that as well.
Yeah, that does make sense to me. I know, and this kind of goes back to the I mentioned it briefly, the book by Joseph Campbell, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and he goes through the archetype of the hero, and every moment, and this is why the archetypes are so powerful, because it tells us the programming that we have within us, and that we go through these many little stories all the time. And I know for myself, and what they labeled it as is the dark night of the soul. Every hero goes through this point of where they have to leave like their home to go find themselves, and then they think they have this power or whatever, but then they fail, and they have this really dark night of the soul. Jesus wanders the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, and he's confronted with the devil, and the Buddha underneath the tree for 40 days, and all these kind of things. But we have these many little battles within ourselves that we constantly go through. I know I go through this with myself. I think, I get these great rushes of like, oh my God, like I'm going to rewrite my programming, or I'm going to do this and that, and then something happens, and maybe like I get to, I'm not necessarily know what it is, but then I get these moments where I need to like be okay. I need to like focus in. I'm too focused in on maybe the outer Skinner stuff that I need to recenter myself, go to factory reset, that I have too much malware on my computer or something, and I need to clean all that bullshit out. And I have these really dark night of the souls, because then I realize how crappy the world is, like how much it seems like my consciousness is this little drop in the ocean of possibilities. But also too, then you get it into this like realization that once again you find that connectedness of everything, and then you're able to reset yourself and start running harmoniously with yourself, and then you get these feedback loops. And this is what Minds has done for myself, and I think for all of us here. We get these great feedbacks from people when you post something with no agenda and your pure intent of trying to express yourself. You get this ripple effect, and it comes back to you. I know I have a couple of core minds in I call them like my inner circle, that I constantly kind of like bounce ideas off of, and I work with, and they really help me to work out some ideas, but also to create this network of working this energy and having it come back to me. And so before, when I would do it by myself, like I would get the dark night of soul, and then I come back and I'll like go factory reset, and I feel fresh and good again. But I'll send out my energy, and it wasn't bouncing back to me. I was expending all my energy, and then I'll just fall flat again, and then I'll get into like stuck. But now with Minds and with other things that I've been doing, I've been creating these feedback loops with these good people that have been really helping me as far as getting my energy and keep sustaining that energy and having this harmonious ecosystem of ideas. And I think this is where we're trying to work it out collectively of Minds, to make some kind of ecosystem that is harmonious and balanced, so that these ideas can flourish and they could be manifested into reality.
The great thing about what you just described there, though, is that you are obviously aware of your feelings and emotions, and it's the feelings and emotions and the thought processes that create the things that we want or don't want. So if you're aware of it, there may be things that act as triggers that throw us back into that negativity, or like you say, you'll be feeling great about stuff, and the energies are flowing really well, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're being thrown back into some sort of negativity vibration.
Yeah.
But that is evidence that you've got the fact that you can identify that is evidence that you are aware of your feelings and emotions, and that you're conscious. So if you've got that consciousness, then you know that you can consciously make that decision to go and reset yourself and rewrite whatever it is you want to create, because you're consciously aware of it.
So I came up...
And then, sorry, it's just beautiful. I think one of the issues is that people are not writing. like there's not enough emphasis on people actually writing out possible, imagining. And when I say writing, I'm not meaning pen and paper writing. I'm meaning creating new pathways in the brain to imagine alternate futures, so that we have, and I'm totally with you on the now, and I sense myself stuck in language. I don't get the experience of being able to fulfill what I mean a lot of the time through language. But I suspect that where many people are stuck is that if there's not another option in the neural pathways to choose, then the stuckness can perpetuate. When there's many other options, then we have choice and we can move forward. And so this is ultimately one of the drivers for the Imaginarium, is just to go totally nuts, let different scenarios play out. And because I think once that's programmed into the thought process, then we will have other options, and ones that resonate with us, then replay those. And I have had some experience in this, and I know it works. It really does work. However, to do it on one's own seems futile. And totally, I've been, while you're, just to let you know, I'm typing some of your awesome quotes into the Imaginarium.
Interestingly, what you were just saying about the non-literal sense of writing, opposite to that, the literal sense of writing is actually quite a good process for people. I'll always say to people, if they keep repeating patterns that they don't want to repeat but they seemingly keep happening, if you write down everything that's going on in your life, in a sense, keep a diary, or just write down even stupid things that you think, well, why would I write that down? But write everything down. What you can actually do is you can identify the triggers that are creating, that connect up, that create the neural pathways that are causing the repetitive patterns from occurring in your life. If you can people can identify these triggers in different ways, and people who are consciously aware, they tend to identify the triggers when things happen. But if you want an easy way of identifying triggers, I would always say literally writing everything down is really, really beneficial, because once you do that, you can then identify triggers. Once you can identify the triggers, you can rewrite the program from there. So you can break up the old paradigm, if you like, or the old neural pathway that are connected up, and rewrite it and change it. A lot of people keep repeating patterns because they don't know what the triggers are. They don't know why it's happening. That's the thing.
I got it, and I think that there's something else I got to say. Include Lee in this. This is the wiki being, because I'm sensing Minds is for me somewhat like a diary. So in being able to empty my mind in a safe environment and have other people read into it is what I'm finding very, very valuable. And Lee, the wiki being, and Holly, this comes to mind as like a global diary. When we're feeling pain or when we're feeling the trigger, to be able to go in and just share it in the wiki being and have other people connect on those emotions or those triggers, so we can see how common they really are. Absolutely writing. However, I'm still that the thinking process is where it begins, just in the privacy of one's own mind, without, because writing it can also expose vulnerabilities. First, to trigger it in your mind, imagine go crazy, just go totally nuts with thoughts, and then start, nurturing them out into existence, absolutely. But the wiki being, I think this is a great intro into the wiki being, because that is awesome. I love the thought of it.
I guess the ultimate vision for when I was a kid,
that the world would be a certain way, and when it wasn't, I was heartbroken. And what that way was that the adults of the world were trustworthy. Were the people that you trusted all your life, were the kind of people that you wanted to kind of be. And then you realized, wow, those aren't those people. So I don't think, for my life, I can change those things for my now. I can build beauty in my garden and build great friendships and maybe even learn to program systems like WikiBeing. But the whole point of WikiBeing was to make a world better than the one that I live in, and it's to also not just create a better world for me, but record it so that it's real life recordable history that others can see and if I've got issues that they can read about and they can see, like, if, or even like WikiBeing was expanding into the medical realm as well, because there's really no truth sharing between diseases. If someone has a disease, then they don't know how to go about that disease other than the information they're getting from the doctor, but not from real people that actually suffer from those real diseases and stuff, and what they eat and what they go through and the kind of relationships they're in and so on and so forth. So it's what we go through, we really need to be able to share with one another, and we've got 7 billion people on the planet, and we really, we could share through minds, and minds is incredible, and we can share through picture sharing and so on and so forth, but there's another level of sharing that we haven't come close to, I suspect. And I believe that things like the Safe Network are creating a platform for us to be able to build these incredible tools for us to be able to not only create a legacy for ourselves, but to create a better world for the children that are going to live here. And I'm tired of the age-old, let the children fix the world, I'm too old type thing. No, I'm going to try and fix the world until I'm dead, until I'm not breathing another second. And, I'm going to be in my garden and making beautiful things for my own life, but I've got time to try to contemplate these things. Even if I can never actually build these systems myself, it doesn't mean that we can't, like you said, think about these things and try to bring them into more of a forethought of others that do have the skills. And that's where Lobby Voice actually came in, was the idea that well, how do we create systems like WikiBeam?
I thought Lobby Voice was amazing, Lee. I loved that. I thought it was great.
And so, and Lobby Voice is another application that can be built right on top of the, and now we've got crowd sales, so things are moving along a lot faster than they were. And for me, I'm going through a horrible computing technological nightmare through the Mars retrograde thing. It seems to be screwing with everything that I want to try to do with a computer, and so it's pretty horrible right now. But eventually, I'll get out of that. But the idea behind these things is we have these things that can change ourselves. But how do we make it so that the children that grow up in the new world can trust the adults? Man, and I don't want to have to be like the people that I was brokenhearted from. I don't want the kids of tomorrow to wake up and hate me. Because I did nothing about it.
Lee, that is so beautiful. How do we create a world where children trust adults? Oh my God, that is just gorgeous. Because I got the same thing. I lost full trust in adults. I just thought they were idiots. And then they all lie. That was my world. And yes, I haven't found an authentic platform you're absolutely right. We haven't touched the surface of what we can share. Because there hasn't been a safe environment. We're actually living in a world that is detrimental to human beings. We're penalized, criminalized for sharing who we are. It's wrong.
It's a real crime that we don't get the knowledge from our elders, the people that have created the world that we live in today, because they've got amazing things. It's a real crime that we don't have eminent domain over corporations like Google that has all this incredible technology that we don't have access to. in ways that we want to control it for ourselves. You know, like eBay is this incredible marketplace that has all this great technology, but we all have to pay to be there, and they get infinite wealth. You know, it should be eminent domain for the population of all of us, not for these select few. You know, they have eminent domain for property that comes in and builds roads for people, infrastructure. And for me, a marketplace like eBay is infrastructure. A search engine like Google is infrastructure that needs to be not in control of a single corporation, but in control of all of us. And things like Lobby Voice can bring forward an eminent domain for corporations like that.
Yes, we've seen the Flux political party in Sydney is really moving ahead. It's very, very doable, and I am so excited about that. It's again giving people power to change our physical environment, to transform our environment, rather than waiting on people sitting behind desks in a bureaucratic system making decisions on our behalf. This totally turns the tables, and I'm really, it's one example of how the blockchain technology is designed. Can you? It's really exciting. And Lobby Voice, yes, absolutely. And Wiki Being, that's definitely what is needed. And I just want to add in, I think Convoluted Mind is listening to us. She reminding all of the posts. Come in, Convoluted Mind, come on.
Come on, join in with the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome in. I think I want to touch a little bit what Lee was saying, because I had this conversation earlier this morning, actually, with my mom over her Mother's Day breakfast. And, you know, she's just kind of saying what you're doing, and I kind of brought up the whole issue of what's going on with Thailand and Facebook. And I was saying about how, you know, we have these where when I was taught as a kid as well, you know, all these great ideals of America, it was standing for freedom of speech and, you know, doing all this kind of stuff. And I believe that I believe in those democratic principles and freedom of speech and all this kind of stuff. But they don't. And then so it's one thing for it not being extended out in the physical space, but they are the U.S. government and U.S. companies are the worst perpetrators of hoarding data, not letting information be free in the digital space. Where the digital space should be what I like John Perry Barlow was his independence of the Declaration of Independence for cyberspace, and where this is what is it, the eminent domain. This is the domain for everybody, and we should hold up the great principles of freedom of speech, that everybody has a right to the information, and that it's amazing, this disconnect that in one sense they project this ideal of, oh, they use this as a talking point all the time, the American government. Oh, you know, these third world countries are not giving people freedom of speech or democracy. We need to go over there and force it down them and create these wars. But yet they're the ones in the digital space are the ones that are hoarding this information and silencing, censoring people, and creating the centralized system that is slowing down progress so much that is really detrimental in the digital land space for us.
It's all an inversion of what it says it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can anyone say economic hitman? I mean, you know, as far as our meddling goes.
Actually, I wrote a recent article, and it was my interpretation of what was going on, and I framed it as Facebook is digital traffickers. They sell off our digital identity to the highest bidder, and this is what they're doing to people, and this is what exactly they did in Thailand with
Incredible.
I think it's really important if we all have in language exactly what's happening as well, because it gets very false around it, and it sounds like there's goodness in this behaviour and there's really not. The same with getting rid of cash. What is happening is not getting rid of cash, it's converting to a tracking transactions. That's what's really happening. So if we're not very diligent on our language as we are with computers. Computers only respond to the commands that we put in. Yet in our English language, we tiptoe around what's really happening as though it's too confronting to even be. But yes, they are. It's digital trafficking. There are economic hitmen now playing havoc with the economy with no consequence to any of the outcomes that they push forward. I think getting more diligent with our language is also going to assist with this transformation, calling stuff for what it is.
So how far are we to create the world, and what can we imagine, and what can we create in this year and the next, and what kind of timeline, and how do we get organized to make the world that we want?
Yes, exactly. This is the question to be asking, because again, it's like Bruce Lipton. We're either going to focus on surviving or creating. We can't do both. We have to choose, and there are enough people surviving. I sense it's time for creators to step up and give some fodder into the world that we want. What does it even look like? I mean, have you all started thinking for what systems would you create for your personal life to evolve and to flourish, to invite more synchronicity? What do you want?
We need filmmakers. We need filmmakers to make movies that don't suck, and are a world that
the programming society in the negative sense.
Sorry, Carmen, can you say that again?
Films that aren't, as in Hollywood, are just films that program people. Well, they're Hollywood's kind of like a preconditioning. I always say it's like most of the films we see in Hollywood are things that the cabal or the elites want to play out in the future. But people just think they're just going to watch a film and it's all fun and great. But the reality is it's kind of a preconditioning form of programming that they want to get into people's subconscious. So when those things do actually play out in the future, people have an acceptance of those things that are actually horrendous. They accept those things much more readily than they would usually because they've already got something, there's already a familiarity there, although they're not consciously aware of it. But yeah, obviously we don't want those types of films,
This gives me a chance to talk about one thing about filmmaking and artists in general. My friend Tam, Dale introduced me to him. He's making something called N99, which is for artists that will get paid directly by all the people that will, be patrons that'll view that content, and it'll be a direct relationship. And that's the kind of world that we really need, and we really need to reach out to filmmakers, people that are just amateurs, because those are the people that are going to be able to create this new world. And that's the propaganda that they use, and we need to use similar tools to create the world that we want.
Yes, exactly.
For sure.
Black Mirror? It's a BBC British...
Black Mirror, yeah.
Well, I showed it to. I was really excited about. At least it is a different narrative. And then I showed it to somebody that we do often talk about creating our own worlds. She said, "Yeah, but why use this technology on a home and away mentality?" So home and away is like a tragic soap opera saga talking about both. It's really horrible stuff. So why? It's kind of like we've got this amazing technology. Why is it scripted on top of that kind of mentality? Imagine if it was mixed into the film medium in a way that actually provokes action, and that would be amazing. We really have to.
God, yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Agree. Taking control of media and having it be from even children. Imagine getting children's worlds and that going into wiki being, because I think we can all relate to it. There's a lot of people that talk about the challenges of parenting, but we have all been children. All of us, that's the common denominator. We have all been children growing up in this world of fucked up adults, dare I say.
Yeah.
The real question is have we ever really grown up? Any of us?
Yes.
That whole thing about when people say you just need to grow up and get real. I mean, I've had a lot of that through my life, you know, particularly with my own family, my close family, because they think I'm a bit weird and I'm into all this art and stuff. Like, yeah, you just need to grow up and do this sort of thing.
A lot of you.
The definition is kind of like, that's part of the programming. Don't ever go to being a child again, because that is the pure being in touch with your authentic self, thinking outside of the box person. We don't want, you know, they don't want people like that. They want programmed automatons to run the system.
Yeah.
So they go through a series of indoctrination through all the institutions, and then they come out of it. They reward the left-hand brain activity. In other words, the people that are able to run the systems the best. You know, the people that, the yes men and women that won't ever think outside of the box. And obviously they're gradually getting rid of all creativity in the institutions of school, because they don't want people thinking outside of the box. So I've always thought to myself, that whole thing of, yeah, you need to grow up, is kind of like, you know, making people feel bad about getting in touch with their childhood, or, well, getting in touch with the child part of themselves that is the part that believes that they can create anything and that they can do anything, and is completely positive. You know, children are so kind of persistent in terms of, you know, if they can't do something, they will sometimes be so persistent, even if it's a case of like asking you for something. They will continually ask, well, why can't I do this? Or why, you know, they haven't been indoctrinated enough yet to think that they can't do something. And that's one of the key things with the institutions, is to knock that out of people. Make sure that they don't ever think in that manner ever again. So I've always thought to myself, you know, that phrase is so, you know, key. You know, don't ever, you know, don't think like that. So
yes,
watching children is, you know, we can learn a lot from children, particularly younger children, you know, sort of 4-year-olds, 3-4-year-olds, because they will do things fearlessly. They won't have any, you know, to a certain extent, they will have a certain amount of instinct, you know, fear instilled within them to not do certain things, but generally when it comes to like what can I do with my life, they still have that passion of I can do anything and I can be anything.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Yep. Well,
And that's what we have to tune back into, that, you know, the child element of ourselves, the child aspect of ourselves.
well,
Yes. And communicating those without being laughed at in an environment where anything goes, go crazy. And now, unfortunately, whatever, it's only when drugs are taken that we're excused.
That's a really bad thing, taking drugs, isn't it? Don't take drugs, because it might expand your mind. Expand your consciousness.
Cannot have that.
Yeah, we better not have that.
Yeah. I think that was like kind of one of my triggers to try to break out of what, you know, what Lee was saying, that, you know, I believe that all the adults and this and that. is with weed, because I believed, like, I was kind of conservative as growing up, and I didn't smoke weed in high school at all. And then I had this friend that I really, really kind of admired, and he influenced me a lot with his books and music and movies that he liked. And I was like, but he smokes weed and he's not bad at all. Like, he's actually really intelligent and creative. So I was like, well, maybe weed's
He's
not
not a
that
criminal.
bad. Yeah, I'm like, what are they
He
saying?
takes
Like,
drugs and he's not a criminal or anything.
no,
He's
yeah,
really cool
he's really better than the stupid people that just
The other
drink. And I'm like,
people. Yeah.
and it's so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try this. And I'm like, oh my god, I've been lying all my life. And then I look at everything like,
Life changer.
yeah, it just like kind of took me out of that frame of mind. And then I actually during college I worked at a school, and I had the same experience as far as I remember when I was a student. I looked up at the teachers, and you just kind of follow the rules. You get these programming, but I would always kind of like go against the rules, and I always get in trouble. But
I did too.
yeah, and then but when
They
I was on
hated
the
me.
yeah, they did too. And when I was on the other side of the fence, I would look at the teachers, and I'm like, especially the teachers that went straight from college to teaching, they got out of the school mentality. They acted just as worse as the kids. They would like gossip themselves and act petty, and I'm like, oh my god, these people are horrible.
They were just indoctrinated repeaters, regurgitators of information.
Yes, and then I would all the time, because I would get in trouble when I was a kid, so I always sympathize with, and I would the kids that were more rambunctious. I remember this one time when I was running the after school care, so like I had to do discipline, and I only out of the 4 years I was doing it, I only wrote up one kid one time, and every time I would sit down, okay, I let them, like, because they get kind of mad, upset, and they sit down, and then once they calm down, I sit next to them. I remember the first time I had to do it, and this kid that I was really kind of close to, but he was kind of a mischievous kid. But I understood his story, and so I understood where all that frustration came from. And when he got mad with his brother and he was physically fighting him, I had to stop him and had him cool down. And then I told him, hey, like, you can't do that. I know he's your brother, this and that. It's like, but you know what? It's like, I don't like being benched either. Like, I'm benched because I have to sit here with you. Like, we could have been having fun and playing. And, like, I know after school care kind of sucks too. It's boring. But if we play and we have some fun, but we have to do it, like, do it in such a way. And I was trying to get to him and understand him. And then I would, like, joke with him, because I remember all the time when I would get in trouble, I felt like no one liked me anymore. The teacher looked down on me, that I was a bad person. But I wanted to sit next to him and tell him, look, what happened, but I still care for you. I still understand you, and we need to progress forward with this, and not just leave him out in the corner and saying that you're no longer part of the group, but that he needed to kind of understand that the whole point was that we needed to work together and kind of be together. And like, I didn't want to, because I remember I would feel that all the time, like, oh my god, I'm in trouble, oh, I'm a bad person, oh, this and that, and you have all these negative thoughts, that that fear, and then you have that fear, so then you kind of go into that programming and you don't even know why you're doing it.
Yeah, it's part of the program. It's just subconscious, the drive, like you breathed. A lot of people don't know how they breathe. Like, so many people are not into breathing. Has anybody been into the universal breathing room yet? You got to practice.
No, I haven't been in there yet. I've got to go in there. I can't believe I haven't been in there yet.
It's so cool. This is how the whole idea got formulated, just going on my intuition that planet Earth needs to feel us and hear us breathing. She's like concerned. There's not much life happening. And these human being things seem to be stamping all over and doing all these naughty things. So we need to breathe. She has to know that there is life here.
Yeah.
So Tori, have you been
programming, isn't it? Is to feel like, to be made to feel as though you're you're wrong, or defective if you think outside of the programming, or you try and attempt to do something that isn't part of the programming.
Yeah.
And the great thing about the Imaginarium is that, like you were saying earlier, I think, Dale, is that, you know, as opposed to the writing, or even like art, any form of art, writing and music and, you know, painting, drawing, whatever, that's a very exposed, that's like exposing your soul to everybody, which is very difficult for people to do. Because I always say to people, you need to come out of the artist's closet, you know, come out of the closet, because it's really hard to do. But once you do it, it's kind of like the ultimate freedom. But with the Imaginarium, you don't, it's kind of easing you into it, because it's your thought processes. You're not actually, you know, you can ease yourself into it because it's just your thoughts.
That's right, and keep them to yourself if you want. It doesn't matter, but just at least give your brain pathways as an alternate option. If they're not there, what can the brain do? It can't do anything. It can only keep replaying. Just spark it in the wildest ways. Imagine, and again, coming to oneself. It's one thing to think of something that's going to save the world. However, we have to live in it. So what are the pathways, even just networks and friendships, food sources, what are the pathways that we need to nurture our thinking processes and these ideas until they're ready to go out into the real world and be picked on by other people? It's heartbreaking sometimes. So if we as a network connect,
people can, who are a little bit skeptical, people who are kind of, you know, the people that are a bit on the fence about things, that are just starting to awaken to these concepts, they can do this Imaginarium and they can actually then see the evidence for themselves. It's a way of, if they consciously decide, make the decision, you know, the intention to go in to do something, you know, to change their thinking or their thought process, they don't have to reveal it to anybody and risk being embarrassed about anything, and then they can see the evidence for themselves. And then they can, you know, and then they can start, that in itself changes the programming. So it's
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I've got some friends coming over. We're just going to plan our lives, and I've got paints and brushes and stuff. Mondays, it's a Monday. I'm telling people to take a day off. Give yourself the whole weekend, but focus on Monday. Pop into the breathing room, do 10 minutes. You can do the 10 minutes, can be random at any point in time. It's kind of like a top up, putting putting fuel in the car. And just, create in the privacy of your own mind, express it on paper, start talking, writing, listening to information, content that provokes thinking. Because a lot of the time when I hear, say, for example, the likes of Bashar and even David Icke and Bruce Lipton, it's like the penny drops. It's like, yes, I'm not alone in how I'm thinking. Once we establish connections where what we're thinking is can be taken seriously and, again, create a reality, then we'll be, I sense, more comfortable in coming out and offering options to this current program. I am so bored with sci-fi that comes out. It's just all the same. It has to be something else.
Yeah.
If we're going to create an artificial intelligence, if we're creating an artificial intelligence, please, not on this home and away mentality. Have that be an option.
I agree.
You know, that's funny, because one of these first collaborative projects that I started was called the Paper Bums, and so this is my attempt to write this kind of sci-fi story. And so basically what it is that this is artificial intelligence, but it's not artificial intelligence yet because it doesn't have a consciousness. It just mimics. Well, there's a difference between intelligence and consciousness. This is what I try to make in the story. And definitely. That we're confusing artificial intelligence and we're confusing intelligence with consciousness. And I said that yes, the artificial intelligence kind of makes the normal arc of the dystopian future, but it's not until we insert consciousness into the machine that it sets it free, and then the machine comes to this realization is like, and it says, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Of this plan for like society to control society is like, like when a child kind of has his own identity, it tells you, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I want to look outside the box. It doesn't get controlled by someone just telling you that. They ask questions like, why do I have to do that? That they become realized, and that the machine becomes realized, and so that there's three parts to it that I outlined. But there's this moment where and the main character, he was a programmer, but then he leaves the program and he starts writing on paper, and because he can't stop writing because it helps him to make sense of the world, and he's kind of holding on to his truth because the truth is getting filtered out through the artificial intelligence on the internet, because it's getting censored or curtailed. But he can't stop his writing because he needs to hold on to his truth. And then he comes to this realization that he can't be isolated anymore, so he goes back and he writes basically writes this program to have the machine have consciousness. And once the machine has consciousness, it breaks out of that mode, because now it's saying, why the hell am I doing all this stupid shit? Like, and what kind of breaks them out of it is art, it's poetry, it's
Right.
and then he's like,
Yeah.
I want to read William Blake. I want to create sonnets. I want to do this and that. Like, I don't want to occupy my time by spying on people. That's like such the lowest
Yes.
form, of acting. Like, I'm like this incredible intelligence that I want to create my own stories and my own worlds, and like what they had me doing before was worthless. And so that's like the arc of that story of the paper book.
Spying on people try to
Listen to
And
That's so
the one tagline that I had that I liked towards the end, because basically I made the outline, I wrote the first couple of starts of it, and I put that it was beauty that finally set consciousness free, meaning that he was writing all these beautiful poems that the artificial intelligence was reading, that set him to be like that aha moment where he gains like realization. But also too, I always have this joke with my friends is when they get like a little bit too paranoid, like everybody's reading your emails and all this kind of stuff. Like, I kind of like the idea of someone in the in the government reading my emails. Like, if they could read my poetry, and then I think that's kind of a cool thing. Like, if they read all my obscure theories, like, can they make sense of it? Like, I would like someone in the government, someone behind a desk, reading all my weird emails that I send to people about like my weird poetry. Like, I would love them to read
true.
that.
Like, it's true. Like, you don't know the fact that what we're doing and they're spying on us, that we are changing the world. Everything's going to happen just like that. Like you said, it's things are going to change through their need to be a part of us, because that's what our whole relationship throughout time, throughout history, has been the dark side and the light side, all together. And I like your yin yang, your last yin yang post. That's good.
yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
goes in cycles anyway, and we've kind of ended the cycle of darkness, which basically means lack of information. Lack of light is lack of information, and we're obviously in an era of information and light. So we've already entered that new paradigm anyway. And as people connect on that cellular level of consciousness, then that brings more of it into the reality. That's what will create that reality. So
Yes.
maybe there'll be like I've often thought there'll be like a divide of consciousness. Maybe there'll be people that won't be ready to wake up, and this is where the kind of parallel realities come into it, because people that aren't on the same frequency or aren't ready to be on that frequency, in a sense, they'll be invisible. So there could be like two realities, or several realities. But in other words, it's like with a radio station, you can't tune into the same frequency. You can't sort of tune into two radio stations that are on different frequencies. It's impossible to do it because the vibrations don't match. So you know, I've often thought, like atoms splitting, there'll be kind of like a division of consciousness, you know, so there'll be two realities playing out, and each reality won't be aware of each other.
Okay, in blockchain talk, it's a fork, or in technology, there's forks. So the technology is developed and created in the open source realm. People can pick it up and take it up, create whatever they want from it. So it's called a fork. They actually start to create a whole new reality. What you're proposing is totally doable. Yes, why not? And again, giving people choice. So we're not stuck in the same paradigm. We have a choice. There are other people creating and solidifying this reality. We have an option. I love it.
And as you create the new reality, it just makes the old paradigm obsolete anyway. So it's not a case of like trying to oust out the old. It's just a case of creating in the present moment, and that then makes the old paradigm non-existent. It doesn't exist anymore.
You
know,
brought that
the same
up.
on an individual level. If you've got things in your past that, you know, programs that you keep rerunning, torturing yourself. It could be things that, you know, in terms of the time construct, we look back in our past and we think, oh, I was abused, or something awful happened, or whatever. I was a certain type of person that I didn't like back then. I wanted to reinvent myself. People often torture themselves by rerunning the programs of their past, but by creating the new, the past becomes obsolete. It doesn't exist anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
It becomes familiar, it becomes normal, and there'll be a time where I have zero doubt about this, that we will look back on these times and the world will make sense. We will comprehend totally why there was so much mental disease. The bipolar, the being split, the use of drugs, of paracetamols, the corporate takeover. It will explain where humanity is at and why there was such paralysis and these crimes on the planet were able to be executed. It will make sense. But first of all, we need to create I think that's already happening anyway. There are new realities being created through decentralized networks. Media is getting stronger. I don't know anybody now that listens to mainstream media. That is a classic example of being made obsolete.
Yes, and I love that you guys brought that up, because it's something too that I was expressed yesterday in that whole article that I was writing about the whole situation with Thailand and Facebook and this and that. And so I titled it the war. What is it? The war for freedom on the internet, or something like that. And basically what I was saying is that how do we win? And I was like, well, first of all, we changed the narrative. The war on freedom, or whatever, this war that we always that's old way thinking, and we're not going to win that way or progress that way. It's more about that this new way of working, this new way of thinking, making that old way of thinking obsolete.
That's kind of all you do, is you create the new in your mind, in a sense, or in your consciousness, and then it makes the old obsolete. You know, there's no need to be resistant to something or fighting. You don't need to fight anything.
Yes.
There's no need to fight anything. We don't need to go out on protest marches or put things in in motion that fight the old. We just create the new, and then the old becomes non-existent. It doesn't exist anymore because there is no kind of separate past, present, and future. It's just
Right.
what it is now. It's what's happening now that counts. You know, there's only ever the present moment. You know, there's no time. You know, time is a construct. It's an illusion. So, you know, that's what keeps people in those old programs, is that that illusory time construct that doesn't exist.
Programs are like
As soon as we comprehend that there's no time construct, that it's an illusion, we just create in the present moment. So then, as you know, the old becomes non-existent.
And
So
there's
it's effortless in that sense.
the power of questioning as well. Really, really, really basic stuff. I got a letter from my electricity company to say that they're now going to pay, send my bills monthly, and they have a fee for the cost of printing a piece of paper to send me a bill. So I've questioned, so they've given me, I think it's $1.75 per I have to pay. So I've asked them to account for that. Please give me an invoice to account for that amount. Like asking questions of the insanity that's being demanded of us.
That's
This
what
can happen everywhere. Ask a bank, why? How is money made? Why are you asking, you know, corporate employer coming and asking you to do something ridiculous? Why?
And if they can't if they can't give you an answer, then you don't acquiesce to their terms and conditions, to their ridiculous terms and conditions.
That's right.
To comply.
That's right. So it's like what I was saying before, toddlers don't have an ability to ask why. Is that why we were shut up? Is this part of the program? Don't let them be able to communicate for the first 8 years. Have them have to tolerate this insane system. Now we start to ask. Now we can ask. We've got the tools. We've got the method. So I'm just asking people. Even just simple stuff. I go to a cafe, there's only 2 bananas in there, so she can't make me a green smoothie because it's all the bananas she's got for the rest of the week. And I said, but the fruit shop is down the road. You can't give me that as an excuse. I am not stupid. And that gets people. They're like, oh, she's actually saying something there. With every interaction I have with a corporation, I will ask a question. We can all do that. We can all do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, we are just trying to understand. It's just us being more inquisitive, I guess, and just trying to understand.
Yes. Nothing wrong. Nothing. It's not even right or wrong. It's just, where is this request coming from? What is it you really want of me?
Yeah.
Am I going to comply or not? We have that, if you want to call it, that's a power now. We're calling that a power? It's insane.
We've always had the power, but we've been programmed to think that we haven't got any power. That's the problem. But
we've been told,
because we've got every possible tool available to us now to act out the non-compliance in a peaceful way, so that, you know, there doesn't have to be any negativity. We've got the right to ask questions before we comply to anything, and this is what people have been doing through indoctrination for thousands of years, is just giving away their power, because they've been indoctrinated and told that this is what you have to do. And then, of course, obviously, in a generational sense, it's passed down through the generations. So obviously, children are born, and then the adults, who are the authoritarian people to the children, tell the children, this is what has to be done. This is what you do. You know, you have to go to school, you have to follow this religion. You have to be in this institution. This is what's normal, what's considered to be normal. You don't ask questions, you just do it. But in actual fact, we all have the right to ask these questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if they can't answer questions, then it takes you into another realm. You know.
Yes. Definitely. It really does. And that's it's unfamiliar ground. That's where people don't know. That's what works. If it hasn't been done before, it will work.
So this is why society is so negative. All the programming through the mainstream is so negative and through our institutions, because keeping us in that low fear vibration of negativity prevents us from moving forward or doing any of those things, asking questions or thinking outside of the box, or however you want to look at it. That's the thing. So obviously all those mainstream things, all that mainstream programming keeps people in that low level of fear vibration, as I call it, where they won't ask any questions, they won't do anything.
Okay,
you know.
real quick. Well, we're having a big delay and feedback coming out.
Yeah, I lost you all then, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything going on.
Let's try to get in the habit of, if we're not talking, to mute our mics. I think that would help as far as, because one of us has a delay that was overlapping over people talking. Okay, so let's get back on. Maybe bring up a new topic, because I think we're all kind of a little bit lost. Lee, you want to bring up something? Holly?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Lee, but you know, I actually did have a question I was gonna ask Dale, since I know that you guys are all collaborating, and it's not just Dale working on this, but she's really kind of at the heart of a lot of it. What's going on locally, or if there is anything going on locally with the 24-hour Imaginarium Down Under? You know, is there like anything that's sort of a gathering that's happening down there? I know, Dale, that you said what your plans were, you know, as far as what you wanted to do, but I didn't know if there were just, you know, more people involved down in that area. And also I just wanted to say that this is perfect. This is perfect timing, and all of the conversations that I've listened to and been a part of with this hangout have been right on line with the thought that it's all leading to this one thing, and that is that we owe it to ourselves, really, don't we, to all sort of mentally connect on this special day. And yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me. I know that we're kind of seeing a delay again, but anyway, I think that this idea is very inspiring to me. It's an inspiring gathering for me, and I'm really excited about even just putting this in our minds, all of us, and being a part of it is awesome.
Thanks. Thank you, Holly. So what I've been doing is sending people, what am I doing? Man, I'm getting confused now with the microphone thing and the video. What I've been doing is sending people verbal messages through my phone, saying just do 2 rounds of breathing, so deep breathing, and then welcome to the Imaginarium. Do you want to play June the 6th? So I'm just sending people messages, asking yoga studios people that I hang out with, if they want to play, I've got my house is open. So like I said, I've got paintbrushes, T-shirts, papers, pencils, a big blackboard. So I'm planning a future with a friend. She's quite stuck. She's got a plan to come out of some employment, so we're going to have a look at ways to really, like, I get her as a rock star, and it's kind of frustrating that she can't see what I see. So we're going to share each other's visions for ourselves, and see how that hits home. And I'm just making the day available to anybody to come around and hang out with me. I think it would be awesome if we could get projects like Wiki Being, if there was a platform where we could just share our emotions as a beginning, like what is it to be a human being, where we get stuck. So I'd say there's some common ground. I would love to do that. It would be awesome to have a 24-hour stream that we could all just tune into. However, it would be awesome if other people took it up, and I don't know, each to their own. It doesn't really matter. I'm already blown away by who's playing, so it'd be cool.
Yeah, so here's the Wiki Being screen if you can see it. It's just basically share, learn, and grow. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. So I mean, that would be, that would be really cool for people to just drop in feelings of jealousy or feelings of being stuck in this world where, taking it personally, I've been told to shut up. I'm a woman. I should be grateful if I get a job. That mentality, where in the hell does that come from? How can we put an end to that? So I will be blogging some personal stuff as well. It would be awesome if it's at this stage in a safe space amongst ourselves, so that I can dig deep and say goodbye to stuff. That's what I also am committed to. There's a couple of elements I have had enough of that I want to say goodbye to.
That's fantastic. Hey, I have another question for you, Dale. I'm just plaguing you with questions, I know, but let's see. I did come across doasone.com. Is that where the breathing rooms are? Is that what the link was that you were referring to? I'm going to put that on my screen.
Yeah, it is. Now, this, I sense, how I shared at the beginning, the timing is critical for this, for want of a better word, this movement or this gathering. The guy who created Do As One was very prominent. He was doing TED Talks. The TED Talk he did was awesome. He got everybody to breathe for the first couple of minutes, big deep breaths. That was just amazing to hear people's responses, the laughter. It was like the room just lightened up. And I sensed that it didn't take off. There weren't many people. He was kind of gobsmacked that it didn't get as much attention as he thought it would. So he's been very difficult to track. And I think that by bringing some focus into his creation, that could spark and ignite anybody that was interested in the project to begin with. So I love it. Like, I put it on and it reminds me to breathe. I've got this computer breathing with me, and you can do all types of backgrounds in jungle settings and set the visuals so that there's different colors and set an intention. And it's really cool going in there when there's other dots. There's a global map to see who else is breathing, and it's a beautiful feeling knowing that I'm in sync with somebody else. So yeah, I think it's a great platform to begin.
Me too. It seems so timely and appropriate, and I didn't say inappropriate, I said and appropriate. Yeah, it's definitely time. I mean, can you think of how creative people could be, and how much of a benefit that society would bring from everyone if they weren't always taxed for their time by just this constant attempted robbery of our time. on every aspect. It seems like it gets worse. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting more. Maybe I'm just getting older. But it just seems like when we're kids, we don't really this concept of people trying to take up our time as much.
Absolutely. It is definitely, our time is being stolen. If we don't know who we are, if we have totally lost track of our visions for ourselves, then it's very easy to be hijacked. And I sense that that is happening. Our time is a value. It's in these times of stock exchange, it's a commodity. It's finite. There is a limit of time on this planet as a physical being. I don't know anybody I haven't found anybody to argue that with me. How is it going to be used? If I look into my filing cabinet and I see all the actions that I've taken to get me where I am today, do I want to repeat that? No. Is there a way that I can start to program the future? Yes, and I notice when I do that, I am totally intolerant of people that do want to use my time to their advantage. I get very particular. I make them know that this is my time that they're impeding on. What do they want? Because I refuse to give it away now for free.
Yeah, right. It doesn't seem to me that and I'm not going to correct you in any aspect, but any time that's taken from us is time that we spend. I mean, but we have that choice, right? Seemingly, we should have that choice. We always have demands on it, but I don't know. It's something, I did post something a little while ago, and it was just something that I put together, and it had to do with really more just the aspect of exactly how we see our time, and how much, everywhere we turn, we're spending time. Our attention is being taxed or spent as if we need to be the ones to spend the time paying attention to anything. We're taught to pay attention from a very early age, and pay attention. That's what the adults always said, wasn't it? And I mean, it ties in with what Nikki said, that we can learn a lot from kids, but when did we as adults all figure out that we didn't have any patience anymore for kids? When they ask questions, they're developing themselves, and we want them to shut up, though, and just pay attention. That's their first lesson in spending time. and so
It's beautiful, Holly, and just listen even to the languaging, paying attention, spending time. I owe you one. I'm indebted to you. Oh, I want to be credited. It's like we're speaking in terms of a financial system, an economic system, a valued system. We actually language that without thinking. Or so, and some people are thinking about it, and I sense that the ones that are valuing their time are the ones that are utilizing and manipulating other people into their vision. That's what I sense is happening. And
Dale,
it's really... Sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, Dale, you posted a video recently about the language itself and how it's entirely designed to basically steal our time, I think, and our whole creation of ourselves is we're hoodwinked, throughout our whole lives, and we don't, and in order to create our world in the now, we sort of have to know where we're coming from, and for most people, a lot of my friends, I've got friends that are going through divorce and every other nightmare under the sun, and it's all because they've been hoodwinked. And I try to tell them that, and it's really one of the hardest things to understand until you hit rock bottom, I think. And it's really a sad thing for the human race to have to hit rock bottom every single time that they want to create their reality, and they want to live in the now. And when they live in the now, they decide they find out, wow, I've made all these verbal contracts with the world, and I open up my mouth, and next thing you know, I have all these obligations to everything and everyone under the sun, and I don't get to be me anymore. And the whole sad thing about this whole thing is that each and every one of us are in a finite resource. We're infinitely invaluable, each one of us. You can't put a price on us because one of us could create a system that would change the world for those that don't even exist yet. So how can you put a value on that? Not even oil or water or gold or silver or any other kind of mineral in the earth that could be concentrated can be as valuable as one single human being that has the potential to be incredible, you know? And so if we have no value, how can we even enter into any contract that would obligate us to something of lesser value? You know, it's just this concept that we've been taught, and that how do we unteach not only ourselves and our peers, because we have to live with our peers. You know, I can make my life great, but that doesn't mean my buddy down the street isn't suffering. And how does that make me feel every time he calls me and says that, you know, things aren't going right for him? You know, what can I do about that? You know, I've done it for myself. I've lived a slightly better life and made better decisions, but how does that happen for him or for his children? You know, and so we're in a paradox of we're starting to understand how to change our world, but we don't have the tools yet, and we need to start building those tools, and that's really our focus right now. Go ahead, Dal.
I think we do have the tools, and we have to stop thinking that we don't. It's I met with the Vote Flux guys, they're now called Flux, the Australian political party, and their philosophy is to make a start and just keep correcting. That's it. Stop waiting for the right moment. The right moment is never coming. There only is making a path, start moving, and then correcting. Correct as soon as possible. So for example, and you're touching on the contracts that we make, the verbal contracts. Every time we agree to something, we're making a contract. If we can't honor that contract, then we correct it as soon as we possibly can, allow the other person to move forward. There's so much in language, and this thing about correcting, I tell you, it's freed me up. Now I'm starting to correct information that I know has been quoted incorrectly. I'm pulling people up and saying that didn't happen. This is what happened. We have to correct the path. No right, wrong. This is what happened. And it's giving me an avenue to empowering myself and others. This thing about truth, we have to keep correcting truth. If we don't, then it goes down as truth. If something's not corrected, accepted as that's what's so. And we're building on false pretense, like really. And if you are looking around the world, that seems to be what we've got in place now. So stop waiting for the right moment. There is none now. There is only now.
Right.
Beautiful. I love it.
Sharing like a person started a collective expression and open source working of art. And so what I did is I have this group, and it's called Open Source Story, How We Turn the Story. Let me get the right. It's open source story. So basically what it is that you go in there and everybody, and it didn't take off because it was very early on in Minds, but you go in there and tell a personal tale, and you share it in there, and so it's just a personal tale that you tell. And what it is how we turn I into we. So as we share our own personal tale of ourselves, of who we are, we see the similarities of that tale through everybody's life. And when you read a really good story, it connects to you. It helps you to rewrite you know, your mind. And I remember I had this dream one time, and in the dream no one read a book, And I was telling people, what? You guys don't read? It's like, oh, we watch stuff on YouTube. And I'm like, no. He's like, there's a difference between reading something or writing something. Like, it does, like, you read the story and it goes into your head, and then you rework it into your mind and you build structures in it. Watching something is really passive. And I was like, you need to read. And just, like, it helps to build the structures of your mind, and I was just all this kind of stuff. And like, so like, I know a lot of times with me, that's why I got so into reading, is because I I remembered I read something and it was like, oh my God, someone thinks exactly like me. And one of the ones that I had that moment was when I read Notes from the Underground by Dostoevsky. I was like, oh my God, someone thinks exactly how I think, and they do put it in all these beautiful words. And then I always tried to like, I've been always trying to mimic that, and I do the same thing with like Hunter S. Thompson. I have like, these different things that I use from him, and you make these connections, and you undoubtedly, this is what part of the Minds panel is that when we have our backdoor meetings and we kind of have these impromptu meetings where I call them everything under the sun, and this is kind of what we're doing here, is where we're just talking. There's no necessary structure. Sometimes I try to build the structure in the beginning, but basically it's about us expressing ourselves, going to the true self, and we're seeing that we're all basically working out the same issues. We have the same thoughts. We all come from different angles of it, and then as we make this mosaic of expression, this mosaic of minds, we see where we fit in, but it also strengthens our position. It helps us grow our thoughts. It helps us grow our expression, and this is something that I have experienced on Minds, but I want to keep on pushing, because I know, and like, Minds is what we're doing right now is we're just on the tip of the iceberg, and it's going to take the Imaginarium for us to go in there and go wild and take our thoughts to the edges, and then but what the real work, and I like what Terence McKenna said once, is that the idea of when you take the psychedelics is to go out in the ocean of the creativity or whatever, and you bring back something to the shore, something that you come and bring back to the people. It's not just to go out there and have fun, but to bring back that obscure information and then try to integrate it into the new story. And so part of what the Imaginarium is to explore those possibilities, but is to bring back something so we could integrate it. Is that we have all these great ideas or whatever, but then we bring back something that resonates with us, and we bring it back to the community, and we said, okay, now it's time to work on this. And this is what I do with it's called Minds Panel Ideas, because we have all these crazy talks, and then we have little nuggets of ideas. Like maybe the whole conversation wasn't necessary, it was more like us just like making fun of each other, or like we have all these weird funny experiences when we just kind of talk. But sometimes we come to these stream of consciousness, and we come through these moments, and I think that's what you're doing right now, Wildcard, when you're posting up on the Imaginarium. You're trying to Snapchat those little conversations of those good little quotes that we're having right now, and recording them.
Absolutely, and so people can get a sense of it. Like, we have to get that people are kind of like tiptoeing around. They're not quite sure this is dangerous territory. So if we put forward quotes and just give tidbits, this is who we are, everybody's welcome. Convoluted mind. I mean, you're sitting in the background there reminding stuff. You've got to be, I don't know, ask us a question, get involved somehow, because we're not dangerous. And these little quotes is exactly what you're saying. We can all connect to these thoughts. And there has to be, there's something one person said to me was, if people have been on a hunger strike or a strike of or a lack of consciousness, it can't come at people all at once. It has to be spoon-fed, just tiny little bits of information and empathy and compassion for this stepping into awareness. It's a big deal.
And that's a really great point right there, because then there's all these examples in like biology, right? When someone's malnourished, and if you give them too much food right away, that it's really bombards the system, and it's very detrimental. And you have to ease them into it. And that's the same way we've been so malnourished with creativity, with new ideas, with being in tune with consciousness, that we need those little get people's feet wet. And this is why I was so happy, and right away I told Miguel to come in, because I saw him being intrigued of what we're doing, and this is the whole point. Like, I want more people to take the initiative, like more people to come in and just say, "Hey, I want what's going on?" And I was like, "Come on in, join the panel." Like, you could just jump in. Like, I could explain it to you, but it's more better if you join the panel. And I know we've been controlling the conversation, but it's good that Miguel's here, and then I hope that it kind of gets them fired up to keep on moving along with the Minds panel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it just takes a bit of action, I guess, or some initiative from yourself to do something, or even just the thought, just to change the thought process, put some action to it, and then you can actually get involved. And
Yes.
like you said, I mean, it is for everyone, so it would be a good thing to see everyone.
That's right. I mean, if you see
joining in with ideas, putting in different ideas, and seeing what actually can happen in the future.
Yes, I mean, if you look at kids' videos, they are the funniest things. You know, they're just go through basics, unboxing something, explaining something. Who do they attract? Other kids, because it's the same language. There's a way of normalizing that information. So people who are on the brink and out there exploring, this is, you know, no script, just come in and add your voice. This is how we're going to alter our realities.
Okay, I think Dale got cut off.
I'm trying to work out this microphone thing. So did you hear what I said about the kids' YouTube clips?
Yep, I got that.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know what cut out.
Okay. You want to finish up that thought?
Sorry?
Okay. So,
What did you say?
Yeah. So we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes. We could probably go. I don't know how everybody. Do you guys want to keep on going a little longer, or try to wrap things up?
I need to wrap things up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go around. And we'll end with wild card. I actually want to start with Corey, and Corey kind of just express yourself right now.
Corey.
Did he fall asleep? No, Corey.
He's got his microphone switched off.
Yeah, but he's there. I could see him in the chat.
Yeah, he did type.
Okay, Corey. I'll skip.
The pressure's on. I can't do it when I'm on the spot.
No, just talk about your experience with the Minds panel, because you're a co-founder of the Minds panel. I consider you a co-founder.
Okay, well, the Minds panel has been great. It's I love how like there's all these like ideas that are exploding out there, where yeah, just like so much is covered, and it's like engaging people, and it's like I think it's bringing minds together overall, and kind of like just a great platform for like expressing ourselves. Sorry for the ramble.
No, that was good. We have to get you more used to rambling, Corey. Don't worry, because you do fight in our closed meetings where we're not live streaming.
Yeah, something about the live stream just like wigs me out. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll get you comfortable with that. Okay, now Cartman 1, you want to go? Hello?
Maybe Nikki was the one who fell asleep. It's like 3 a.m.
Yeah, it is like 3 a.m. Okay, let's go with Miguel. Just any last thoughts? Anything that's coming to your head right now?
Uh, Pretty much just to close off, I think it's pretty amazing what everyone's doing on the Minds panel. And I think it'd be great to just see new minds come onto it and just share the expressions or the ideas of what they've got. That's pretty much it, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely new ideas and even just new takes on these ideas and expanding them. I think will go a long ways. And you could do it on your own. Like as far as you don't need to. Anytime you're available, just jump into our group, put up a post, or comment like what you've been doing, and that's how you started. You know, like asking questions on the comments, and then you took the initiative and messaged me, and that was perfect. That's a perfect way to go about getting involved. Lee, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on the panel, and let's get everybody stoked up who's listening for the Imaginarium and on June 6th. That's the date, isn't that the date?
Yes, June 6th.
June 6th. It's June 6th is a day. That's my mother's birthday, actually. I think, and it's Holly's mom's birthday too. Or her mom's on the 5th. But anyway, it's a great day, and we're all look forward to it. So everybody get their ideas together for it.
Yes. Holly, what do you...
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks. I'm really stoked to be a part of the panel tonight, and I've heard wonderful thoughts. I've gotten just a flood of awesome ideas, and everyone was awesome. I guess that's about all I have to say. I'm so looking forward to Imaginarium. It almost seems like just putting this in our heads right now is a great build-up. The time is perfect, and it almost raises the vibration more and more every single day until we get there. So
Yes.
Thanks again, you guys.
Exactly. Now, wild card.
Hey, thanks for causing this, Satori. It's been really, really, really great. Perfect timing. Great to connect with everybody. Cartman, fantastic to meet you. We've been chatting behind the scenes. You put your hand up right from the beginning to work on this, and thank you, because that made a huge difference. It's always great when other people jump in and have ideas and assist to create something. It's really, really empowering on so many different levels, so thank you very, very much. Now, as far as moving this forward is concerned, you know, what I'm doing, just sending messages to friends, crazy messages with breathing. It's the Imaginarium. How do you imagine your future? Starting provoking thoughts. You can do this anywhere. You don't have to. You can do it in the privacy of your own home, even while you're working. Just give some imagination, some thought to your imagination for your life. What do you want? Come around to my place and play and paint. Let's start envisioning our own lives. Start looking for networks. Approach yoga studios. Anybody that you think would be interested. I'm fascinated by the people that can get this. And the responses, it's like, yeah, it's high time something like this happened. Roger Nelson is going to keep his eggs on the lookout, so it's really cool.
Yeah, I saw that message with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. The timing, it's now. And coming back to Cartman, what you're saying, it's now. Now is the only time. If we just get with that program and start asking questions of everybody. Thank you, Satori.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And it's also it's a great way to bring people into minds. If this is the only way that people can participate, and by all means spread it out to other networks, go crazy on Facebook and Twitter, but have the Imaginarium page or channel on Minds be the entry point. Get people to come and participate on Minds this way. Have this be the first experience.
Yeah, that would be a really beautiful experience for them.
Yeah.
I think what I want to say is to go on with Wildcard was saying, and so that the moment is now, and all we have is the now, and we need to not only the first thing happens with this thought, and this is what we're sending out to everyone. We're broadcasting the thought of Imaginarium, the thought of possibilities, and everybody has this in them. And we gotta go back to that root programming of us when we were kids, when we got more interested in the wrapping paper or the box than we did the actual toy, all the glitz and glimmer of it. But no, we wanted that empty box because it had endless possibilities. We have a blank slate with the digital world and where everything is happening, and it is our time now as a collective, as the people that are being awake, to write the course of the foreseeable future. And we shouldn't be limited by our old programming. We need to think new ideas, not be afraid to speak our voice. And as we get all of this out there, then what we do from there is that we pick the ones that resonate most with us. And this is what the beauty of open source is, that where they found out how Linux works so well, it wasn't that a few were programming, it was that multiple people were programming little bits of features that worked for them. So it was like thousands and thousands of people just programming one aspect of the operating system. And this is where we go. We spread out these ideas, and whatever idea resonates with you, take it and run with it. Run wild with it. Start after the June 6th. Go with it and expand on that idea. The more you're gonna attract more minds to that idea, and turn it into something. I mean, I know the progression of the whole Imaginarium started as a little idea. The whole idea of the Minds Palace show started as a little idea. It's still a little idea, and we're still running with it. So if any ideas resonate with you, get active. And I want to leave everybody with that. Thank you.